is off the mission trip.
Oh, cool. Where are you going on mission?
I'm on to my festival thing. Nice.
Detroit.
Oh.
Yeah, it's this big urban agriculture.
So tell us your name.
Natalie Boddeker.
And Natalie, where are you from? Are you born and raised in Bowling Green?
No, I was born in Alton, Illinois, and I moved here when my family moved with the Corvette plant in 1980.
1980. And what grades was that?
I was in 5th grade.
Fifth grade. Where'd you go to school?
St. Joe.
St. Joe. Okay, so did you go to any of the Bowling Green Junior High or?
No, I stayed at St. Joe until 8th grade, and then I went to Bowling Green High.
Okay. And did you go to Western?
Mm-hmm.
And have you always lived in Bowling Green since then?
I lived in Nashville for about a year, I guess, working at a bookstore in Nashville, and then moved back.
That's the big thing. You've got a book background. What was the first job you ever had? Was it a bookstore or where?
Gosh, my first job was babysitting 4 kids. I was basically their nanny, and I can't imagine doing this now, having anyone watch my kids at this age, but I think I was 13 or 14, and I would bike there after school and stay there until 10 o'clock at night when the parents got home, and then bike home. And I fed the kids, bathed them, put them to bed, helped them with homework, did all that.
At 13?
Way too young. Yeah, can't believe it.
How old were the kids?
They were little. They were
Okay.
twins that
Okay.
were two.
It wasn't 13 and then you were watching a 10-year-old.
No, they were little. They were little. And then I worked at an ice cream shop when I was 15. And then when I was 16, I started.
Where was the ice cream shop?
It was off 3 Springs Road. It was called Casey's Ice Cream.
Okay.
And it made the blizzard before there was a blizzard.
Oh, okay.
So you would take a square of vanilla ice cream, and then you could pick out all of these different things to mix it with, and then we would blend it in this big thing.
Did you flip it upside down?
No, we did not.
Okay.
That
was purely marketing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I started working at Walden Books when I was 16.
Okay. And then you went to college. Did you get a degree in English? Is that why you're book friendly?
Yeah.
And then
That's my book. Well, it was an English degree, and then I minored in business.
Okay. So that kind of makes sense. And then you moved to Nashville right after that, or?
Right after, stayed for a year, came back.
Okay. And then when did you start with Barnes and Noble? Because that was
When I came back.
Okay. And you managed that place for a while too,
Yeah,
didn't you?
I was there for 18 years, and I think I managed it for 15 of those.
Okay. And if people haven't noticed yet, we're in Zest. Natalie's the owner of Zest. Tell us how Zest came about. What was the genesis for you juicing?
It was completely an impulse, actually. My husband and I were watching a bunch of health documentaries at that time, and we watched Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which is by Joe Cross, and it documents his journey from feeling fat, sick, and nearly dead. He was on a bunch of medications and felt horrible, and decided to start juicing. And he did 60 days of just juice. And this documents everything, like the good, the bad, and the super ugly of detoxing those first few days. And after watching that, I decided to do it myself. And I juiced for 50 days. Come on in. I juiced for 50 days, and that kind of started the business. Maybe I did. You have a coupon to this? It's now 20. Awesome. So that very night, after we watched it, I looked at my husband and was like, I think I could do that. And he said, I think you can too. And we had this cruddy juicer that my mother-in-law had given us that she didn't like. And I juiced a few things and drank it. It was fine. It wasn't great, but it was okay. And my husband and I had a deal where if I made the juice, he would clean the juicer, which is like the best. I got the best end of that deal because cleaning a juicer is horrible. So, I think in those first few weeks, I burned up 5 juicers. And I
Really?
burned up like smoking because sweet potatoes and carrots are hard to juice. So you have to really get a strong juicer, not just a little cheapo one, you know. You just spend the money to get a good one. So anyway, I did that. And as I was doing it, people were kind of making fun, like my coworkers, and then they started noticing some changes that I was losing weight, but also my skin was really clear and my hair was growing fast and my eyes were really bright, and people were noticing that and were asking me. So I had a few more people that were doing it with me. And then because I was in the book business, my whole purpose was really to sell juice books. So I started doing some seminars thinking, well, I'll sell a few books out of this. But people were really interested not so much in how to make juice or how to find recipes, but where can I buy this juice that is already made for me? And there wasn't a place to do that. And juice shops were just starting to pop up.
What was this, 2012?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, more.
2011?
No, more like 2013.
Yeah.
Very beginning of that. I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because it was like February of 2013. And people, you know, there were some juice shops around, but nowhere around here. And I think Juice Nashville had just opened
Okay.
not too long before that. And you couldn't even find juice in the grocery stores like you can now.
Sure. I think like Naked may have been the only thing
Naked
that.
juice was around, but we know that that's not really Naked.
Yeah, that's just not.
So anyway, I started making some for people that were really interested on a really small scale. A friend of mine and I started doing it, and then we went to the community farmers market and applied there and got accepted and started selling from the farmers market. And it just kind of got bigger and bigger, and I hated only having juice available 2 days a week
Sure.
at the market. So my goal was always to have fresh juice available every day of the week.
But the farmer's market proved the concept that it was doable.
Absolutely, yeah, and that we had a market and that people were interested.
And were you still with Barnes & Noble at that time?
I was. I stayed at Barnes & Noble most of that time, and I was making juice. I would work all day at the store and then make juice in the evening and then sell it Saturday mornings and then go back to work Saturday night. So it was really kind of a crazy time where and because we had a small juicer, it took us a really long time just to make a few juices. And we were bottling them in mason jars, and it was just, we were buying all of our produce at Kroger, and you know, the way we were doing it wasn't the most efficient way, but it was all we had to work with at that time.
So you decided to start a business. When did you take the full jump away from Barnes & Noble? Because your husband also owns his own business. And most people don't know, owning your own businesses can be scary. 2 people in the same marriage owning their own business is frightening.
Yeah.
As I can attest, the whole thought of it. So how did you make that decision?
Well, it was a lot of back and forth, and you know, I really didn't know if it was the right thing to do. Health insurance is, of course,
That's number one.
the number one concern. And I have 4 kids, so that was really a huge concern for us. But he had faith in me, and we felt like it was time to do it. So just kind of made that leap, and that's what you have to do.
You had someone behind you supporting you. That's the big thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And what was the one thing that you weren't expecting when you jumped into business for yourself? That, I I mean, you've been around running stores and everything, but what's the difference between running like Barnes & Noble to just owning your own thing? Because we're going to have people who could be at the farmer's market now thinking about doing this, where it's their full-time gig and not just like what you were doing. What would you give as advice? Hey, you need to know this before going into it.
I guess the biggest difference is that at Barnes & Noble there were systems in place for everything that were created mostly by someone higher than me. So really, I was very good, I am still very good at managing people and forming relationships and getting things done. But I wasn't that accustomed to seeing, hey, we need a system in place for this, let's create one. I was just kind of let's see how this works out. And can't really do that when you have your own business. So that's kind of, that was the biggest difference for me is trying to get used to the fact that there wasn't a manual. I just needed to create my own manual for this.
Who inspires you for your business? Is there anyone you look to that has inspired you through this whole process?
I would say really all the small business owners in Bowling Green are a huge source of inspiration. How hard everyone works and how what a nice community people have created. And I feel comfortable going to any of my friends who own small businesses and asking for advice, and hopefully they feel the same. But just learning from people who have been there before me has been a huge help. And I would say mostly it's from people in town who are in the trenches kind of doing the same thing I'm doing every single day.
Sounds good. What's the future for Zest? Because you were just juice. Let's walk over here really quick. And now
I've got some food items.
Yeah, and it's not just about drinking your juice. From my point of view, you're one of the few places that is vegan friendly to the max. What made you walk over?
Well, really, there isn't a place that I'm aware of that has only all vegan food. And so I wanted to provide something, even on a small scale, like what we have. By no means are we a vegan restaurant, but we are a small grab-and-go place where people can come and get a nice, healthy lunch or snack.
Sure.
And I have a lot of people who plan their day based around what I have in the case there.
So how important has that been for the growth of the business, the whole vegan food? Because I think you and I have talked about this off camera before, that that's kind of where a lot of the food trends are heading, or more healthy, quick options. Are you constantly looking for the next kind of?
Well, I have some people working for me. Food is not my strong suit. I'm not a cook. Mm-hmm. I'm barely a recipe follower. I struggle in that area, so I've hired people who that's their passion, and they're constantly coming to me with ideas of what we can make next and what we can do. And really, my job is to taste it and see if I like it and see if it's cost effective for us to do, and then give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. I want to always be true to the juice business. Mm-hmm. And keep that alive and fresh, and rotating different items in and out. And I always want the food to be a small side of it. But I don't really see at this point a ton of expansion in the food area as far as what I'm going to do here. I do think it's an opportunity for someone in Bowling Green, though, but probably it won't be me.
Or probably just options at places that are traditional, yeah. Kind of a weirdo question. What are your 5 favorite fruits you work with here? I know, it's a weirdo.
5 favorite fruits I work with?
could be your favorite tasting, the easiest to make juice. Because you said sweet potatoes are hard.
Sweet potatoes are hard to deal with, and they when they go through our juicer, we have a huge juicer now that grinds everything up in mass quantities, and it still has a hard time with sweet potatoes. But actually, pineapple is as yummy as it is the biggest pain to work with.
Why? Why is that?
Because it you have to really slow press it in small quantities because it's so juicy and so frothy
Okay.
that it kind of makes a big mess everywhere if you go too fast with it.
So what's the dream fruit? What's the one that's easiest?
Apples.
Apples? Really? I would have said strawberries. Okay.
No. Strawberries are easy to juice, but they're difficult to get. They have a super short shelf life. The grow life in Bowling Green or in Kentucky is really short. The window to get fresh
Yeah,
strawberries,
sure.
which is always our
Which we're already out of season, right?
Yeah.
And it was a bad season, right?
No, it was a little bit longer than normal.
Oh, was it? Okay. I thought, was it blueberries maybe? That
yeah,
was
blueberries half
Blu-
the time.
Yeah, okay. And then my last question for you, is there any books that people need to read that you've read recently? Any ones that you suggest?
On juicing?
Any book.
Oh, okay. So it's been a while since I've read anything for fun. But right now I'm reading a new book called Entre Leadership, which is by, oh my goodness, Dave Ramsey.
Okay.
And I'm reading that about the combination between an entrepreneur and a leadership and how you don't want a business filled with entrepreneurs because they're all kind of like crazy. But you don't want one just filled with leaders.
Sure.
You need to have a combination of both. And so
Kind of makes sense,
it's
though.
super interesting.
Yeah.
And then I'm reading another book for a book club, which I've always been kind of anti-book club because I don't like being forced to read something that I may not feel like reading at that time. But the public library is doing something at the Preservation Tasting Room.
Okay, yeah.
Book club, and I want to be a part of that because it's going to be super fun.
So what's the book?
Oh, it's called The Nest.
The Nest.
And it's really interesting. Yeah, I just started it on vacation, and so far it's great.
And you always give me shows to watch. What's your show to watch right now?
Oh, I just finished The Americans, which you know is done for the season, and there's only one season left, and I'm pretty sad about that. Gosh, I haven't been watching anything recently.
You've been on vacation. You've been enjoying it.
I need to find something new.
Okay, the last thing is not a question for me, but a question for people. Maybe we can get some people to respond. What do you want to know from Bowling Green people to help your business, or if you want a new show or book, whatever you want to ask, you can ask.
Oh, goodness. Well, I am always up for recipe recommendations for juice. I'm always up for what do you want to see in Bowling Green that would lend itself to my kind of shop that maybe you've been looking for and you can't find anywhere. And clearly I need some show recommendations since I don't have anything.
All right. Well, thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.